Do 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 do. Pow pow pow. All right, we're rolling live from the wasteland. This is Freedomville, and what's the topic today? It's funny how Zoran Mondani is running cover for effectively what is an Islamic terrorist event that happened basically right in front of his house. Isn't that interesting? Kind of shows you how quickly, and someone said, Zoran Mondani is what the world needs to see. We need to see what happens when you give these people power. You're getting it on full display. Yeah, where am I going with this? It's Freedom Phil, like, subscribe. Let's get into it, and always turn up the video speed. And why do I say that? Because if you're watching this at regular speed, what are you doing? You know, it's like, I see these people, and they're like, talking like all slow like this. Turn up the speed! Freedom Phil, let's get into it, like, subscribe. I'll put it like this. Am I surprised what I'm seeing from Mondani? Not at all. Not at all. He needs the Muslim vote. He needs the foreigner vote. He needs that coalition to keep himself in power. This is the same strategy you see with Democrats all over the place. Why do they run cover for Somalian fraud? Why do they make excuses for, having blaring the call to prayer in parts of Michigan? Was it Flint or something like that? Or Dearborn? I can't remember which one it is. Why do they run cover for that? The simple answer is because they care more about gaining the votes than the voters themselves. Because the majority of heritage Americans don't matter. All that matters is winning the election. So you have a terrorist event that happens right in front of Zoran Mondani's house, where a peaceful protest was happening. You could argue the right-wing guy, Christian, whatever, right-wing guy that was roasting a pig. It's a little insensitive, but is it a crime to roast a pig in America? No. Why is it that we see people like, watch CNN, watch these news organizations, a far-right extremist was protesting, blah, 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 basically trying to make it sound like it's your fault for disagreeing with this other religion. We can't question the other religion, which is bullshit. That the whole term Islamophobia is fucking bullshit. Islam, like Christianity, like any other religion, is a collection of ideas, and ideas can be questioned. But that one, no, you can't question those people. And they run cover for this because the Democrats know that they're a losing game. The Democrats don't make voters. They mutate other people into them, or they bring other groups in to replace. Like, they're replacing the black population because the black people are starting to wake up. They're replacing these people with Muslims or foreigners. And they can't really count on the Latino vote necessarily because, well, a lot of Latinos end up making their own businesses, therefore it would be in their best interest to vote for lower taxes. And it turns out the arch enemy of the Democrat, which is what? The Christians. Because most Christians generally vote more towards conservative. Not all, but a lot of them. And the reason for that is that they look which side actually stands generally with Christians. Is it the Democrats? Like, I don't care if you're gay, straight, whatever, okay? Either one of these books, all these holy books say gay bad. Now, which side generally still kind of holds that line? Not the Democrats. Which side says traditional, two-family nuclear families is a good thing? Not the Democrats try to give a little lip service to it, but they make the entire system that needs single mothers and fathers stuck on child support. No. Traditional values are that of the conservative. And that's why they bring in these Muslims. Because these Muslims vote as a block. The Muslims are like, what are you going to do for me? How much money are you going to give me? What excuses are you going to make for my fuck shit behavior? They run cover for terrorists. Zoran Mondani was quick to say, well, those right-wing extremists out there, oh, you're an extremist for having a peaceful protest. Well, my God, they were cooking a pig. And you can't do that. If you don't like pork, don't eat pork. This ain't complicated. You don't need to tell your neighbors what the fuck to do. But that's what that religion of peace, bullshit. That religion, if you go and look into it, when they're weak, they act tolerant. When they're the majority and they're strong, they act like authoritarians. Want proof? Go look at Iran. When they have the power to put their boot on your neck for not complying, they do. Do you really want to live in a country where if your hair slips out of your hijab, just to save face, your own parents, your own family will beat you to death? Or if you go to jail for being a protester as a woman, they will rape you just to guarantee that under their religion you will burn in hell. Boy, that sounds like a good thing to import anywhere in the world. And I'll tell you the problem with America. It's been a long time since we had any real problems. We would have never seen this shit after World War II. We would have never seen this shit after Vietnam. We haven't had a real no-sit situation. And granted, the 20-year wars were the 20-year wars. But because it was a voluntary force, and it got strung on for so long, that people just basically forgot the wars were going on. We have gotten really casual about that shit. We haven't had something that made us all Americans. And arguably, back in the day, before the Democrats realized, because the Democrats used to be the union vote. Honestly, they were the racism vote for a long time. They were Jim Crow. They are the KKK. A lot of their thugs out on the streets are their modern KKK. They just do it. They're just a different version of it. It's a new version of hate. The Democrats realized somewhere back in the 50s and early 60s, they were losing. Because prosperity raises people up. Low taxes, limited government allows people to actually do something in their fucking life. Not having a million regulations holding you back. Freedom is enjoyable to people, believe it or not. And this is part of the reason when it comes to these Democrats, they always got to bring in new voters. They tried capturing the black vote, and they did for over 60 years. And now that the black community is starting to wake up, they're scared as hell. That's why they're bringing in these foreigners. And they can't count on Latinos because Latinos are also generally kind of conservative, kind of Christian. And the reasons make sense. If you're a business owner, why would you vote to have more of your money taken away? Now, some people are ideological like that, but most people get really smart when it's their money. Democrats used to be Christians, but they kind of decided, okay, we're going to go for welfare checks and LGBT. They used to be the working man's vote, but they're just as corporate and sell out as the conservatives on that. They're just as much of a vulture capitalist. Like, these are the people trying to chase after, and I actually kind of agree with it, chasing after people that leave their states for taxes. They can't run anything unless they run it into the ground. The only reason they can manage to make things work is because this government's been printing money for ages. So the tactic is simple. They are so obsessed with maintaining power and slowly sliding our country towards socialism that they're willing to bring in terrorists. And Zoran Mondani, he can't even call it what it was. As a man has a pipe bomb, him and two guys with pipe bombs screaming Allah Akbar, how much more fucking evidence do you need? People say, well, what are they going to do with the terror? You know what? I don't want these people put in prison. I want them fucking impaled. Oh, is that a little too raw for you? And make sure you don't make the tip too pointed. You got to blunt it. That way it lasts longer. Slower. I don't want to fucking see these people. By the way, I'm a little sick and tired of these situations where they're like, well, we need to deport these murderers and whatnot. So what? What? This is like just like with the UK. So what is this, a rape vacation? A murder vacation? No. Bring back the guillotine. Bring back impaling. And watch how quickly this shit stops. It's just like when you see some African Americans losing their mind because someone said the N-word. and they chimp out. You don't like me calling it that? And yeah, I know it's culturally insensitive. But, this is the thing. Sometimes people are dicks. And if your instant action is outright violence because someone said a word or cooks a pig or your religion doesn't like dogs, then let's just be honest. You're not civilized enough to live in a civilized society. And I think most people are civilized. So why the hell should all the regular, normal, civilized people of any different background or group have to live around fucking animals? And the answer is because the Democrats need the collective vote to stay in power. When they run their cities, literally, these big metropolises, they run them into the ground. They bring in foreigners and give them CDLs, truck driving licenses. They give them, people who can't drive, they allow them to drive. They put your family, your children on a school bus next to an 80,000-pound vehicle, and that motherfucker doesn't know how to drive it. Doesn't take good care of it, doesn't maintenance it right. You got people who would gladly, you see what's going on in the UK? That will be happening here unless you take a strong stance. There's no reason, as Americans, we should ever have to tolerate this shit. You want to go and fuck up some country? Go back home to your own country and fucking fuck it up. Oh, wait. It gets so bad in some of your countries, eventually we got to go clean it up. And as an American, I'm okay with what they're doing in Iran. Iran getting a nuke, that's not good for anybody. And how many times do we have to negotiate with these people? How many off-ramps do you got to give a terrorist country before eventually it's just okay, it's finally time. We just got to do this. And they waited a lot of years to do this. They waited until the situation was so bad, the inflation was so bad for the Iranian people that 80% of the Iranian people were like, fuck this, anything but this. But, I'm sick and tired of America having to fix problems from everywhere else in the world. Communism, that's a European invention. We didn't make that shit. That was brought here. Imported. All this Allah Akbar bullshit, that's a old world Middle East invention. We didn't bring this shit here. Maybe we could argue that we opened up our doors and let it come in. We let it in. And by the way, we didn't take it seriously. It was cute back in the day when, Muhammad Ali, formerly known as Cassius Clay, it was cute back then. It was cute when it was Malcolm X. It was just a different faith, a different religion, and nobody really minded it. It was what it was. But it was after 9/11 and all the excuses we've had to make. Religion of peace, Islamophobia. I'm sorry, but if I never stopped hearing people questioning Christianity. Talking shit about, go look at some of the atheism channels. They got a lot of shit to say about Christianity. They don't talk much about the tiny hats, maybe a little bit. They're scared about talking about the tiny hats. But when it comes to talking about, the Muslims, whoa, those people might bomb us. So the only group you'll see them talking shit about consistently is Christians. Now, you really think about that for a second. After decades of constantly having a bunch of browbeating going towards Christians, and some of it's deserved. I thought it was pretty stupid back in the day when everybody's like, I remember the religious right, okay? I get why they were so repulsed by it. But how can we not have the same outlook on the so-called religion of peace? Trucks of peace, mass stabbings, grooming gangs. Occasionally someone saying Allah Akbar and trying to blow up people. I'm just saying, why is it we can't just finally have that same conversation? And the answer is because Democrats know they need that vote. There's a reason the Somali fraud up there in Minnesota wasn't being looked into. Because they need those voters. If we're in a country where it's 51% to 49%. By the way, if you guys want to talk, you just got to be a subscriber for a minute. We're in a country where our vote goes down to 51, 49%. So what happens when you add 5 to 10% of a group in? You guarantee the vote. And if that isn't rigging elections, what is? And you know what the sad part about it? All we have to do when it comes to the whole situation with the Democrats is actually just do some good in the world for once. It's not, and by the way, it's not like being a laid-back libertarian. It's not that I look at the conservatives and think they're great. It's just that they're a less shitty option than the Democrats. They're a more sane option than the Democrats. Both these parties are like choosing between, pre-used toilet paper. Just one has more shit on it right now. That is literally our American political system. And instead of actually trying to improve things for Americans, the Democrats are just like, let's just rig elections. Power at any cost. What do you mean fix stuff? When we fix it, then we won't have anything to claim we're going to fix. And by the way, and you know why I know this is a strategy? Because the Democrats know how badly they fucked up when they legalized gay marriage. Y'all don't hear me when I'm saying this. Let me explain. Gay marriage was an issue they were winning on for ages. People were becoming more open-minded, and they're like, yeah, well, why shouldn't you be able to get married? I mean, why the hell should someone be able to tell you who you can marry? It's none of our business. And you have the Christian people, and the Christian people start looking like pretty ridiculous. I mean, really, realistically, what is a marriage other than a contract with the state to say who gets your shit, who can visit you in the hospital? Why the hell should anybody be able to tell you who gets your shit when you die? Well, because taxes. Yeah, but once again, death taxes. There's a Democrat for you. But when they made gay marriage legal, then it became, what the hell are we fighting for now? Why don't we bring jobs back? Ha, 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 we can't do that. No, that's never going to happen. Why don't we make better schools? Why? The dumber they are, the better the voting works for us. Like, that's the problem. Every time they run out of an issue, and this is part of the reason the trans stuff got so crazy. Because basically these people realized they needed a new gay agenda. But they went too far when they went after your kids. You see? And that's the thing about it. And there's an irony to this. When basically you have to make extremists to have a voting block. Whether it's foreigners from other countries that bring in their whack job, nutty ass religions. Or people that are ideologically like full communist, like screaming like capitalism is wrong. You really just got to analyze it. The Democrats, Zoran Mondani, they need these people. Otherwise, their entire house of cards falls. Now, I don't know if the big cities will ever be Republican again. I don't know if it's just going to be a slow spiraling death spiral. I don't know. But I know, just through common sense and a boot up a lot of people's asses, a lot of these problems could be fixed really quick. But that's not good for politics. So that's my thoughts. Freedom Phil, like, subscribe. Peace.